On January 10th, 1992, following a nationwide search, Dennis Green was named head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. It was the first time in the history of the sport that a professional franchise had conducted a search and declared that the most qualified applicant was black. Green took his selection in stride, for he had determined long ago that he was a man with leadership ability.
My parents always had us believe, and I'm the youngest of 5 boys, our parents always had us believe that we could do anything that we wanted to do. My parents died when I was very young. My father died when I was 11 years old. My mother died when I was 13. As a result, I spent a lot of time with my grandmother, and I can remember I must have been maybe 14 years old, and she was, just a terrific woman who did not graduate even from junior high school, grew up in Greensboro, North Carolina. But had great wisdom, very intelligent, as most grandparents are. Had a lot of good things to say. And she told me once, she said, baby, the one thing I want you to always remember, that when you stand at the door of opportunity, have your bags packed, ready to go. When it opens up, you go through. Don't stand at the door and say, when it opens up, well, I didn't think you were going to open the door. Let me go get my stuff together. Meaning, now let me go back and get my education. Let me go back now and get my self-discipline. Let me go back now and make sure that my self-esteem and my confidence in check. I'll come back down, if the door's open, I'll go through. She said, that's not the way to do it. You know, be ready, have all those things in order. When the door opens up and you go through it, then you'll be fine.
And when did you first recognize that you had leadership abilities?
In high school, being elected a lot of class offices, student council, vice president, class president, junior, senior year, things like that, really pushed me out into that more of a frontal leadership role, even though there were a lot of people in the neighborhood. I mean, I'm talking about next door, across the street, all around us, who had a better academic record, you know. And I think that's when it became clear to me that leadership and education in a lot of ways are the same. Education is not just what you do in the classroom. That's a part of it, but there's a certain education off, and I think I probably excelled in more of the education off the field, you know, how to get people to work together. We did so many things, I think, in high school group-wise, bringing people together, because I was the first black junior class or senior class president in the history of the school. And so we were, you know, it was an integrated school, and bringing, you know, people together and seeing that was necessary was something that I really enjoyed doing.
The Minnesota Vikings did a nationwide search for a head coach, and they chose Dennis Green. How do you feel about that?
What the Minnesota Vikings wanted was success. They wanted a quality product. Roger Hedrick had never been in the football business. He came from Pillsbury. He understood that what he had needed at Pillsbury to be successful was the best available person for a job. If it's a woman, you hire him. If it's a man, you hire him. If they're of some particular religion, you hire him. If they were some particular race, you hired them. And so when he took a search, he hired what he thought was the best available person to have success in his job.
Dennis, a lot of young people have negative attitudes. And sometimes these attitudes can get in the way of their talent. They don't realize that attitude is everything. What would you say to young people today in relationship to attitudes and how important that is?
What I want young people to do now is to think about what they want and what it's going to mean for their family. If you are the first one to go to college, then accept that responsibility. Don't say, no one in my family is ever going to college. If you're living at home and your parents have a problem, whether it be a drug problem, whether it be a gambling problem, whether it be a stealing problem, whether it be some type of anti-social behavior, that's still no reason for you to enter into that behavior, because we all have to be responsible for our own actions. And if a parent is doing something that's wrong, and then you do something that's wrong, your parent winds up in jail, you wind up in jail, you're the one that's got to live with it, not your parent. And you can't say I had a poor role model. We have to accept responsibility for our own actions, and that indeed takes courage.
We're not going to get an opportunity to talk to them today, but if we did, and I had a chance to ask your wife, your grandfather, and your children, and you, who would they say Dennis Green is?
I think my wife would say that I'm a guy who is a real sensitive individual, as far as what type of mate that I try to be, is someone that you can really count on. That when you need, something needs to be done, whether it's emotional, whether it's physical, whether it's financial, that I'm a guy that can be counted on to do that. My daughter is a daddy's baby, and so that would be totally different. I think that she looks at me probably more than she should, as someone who has all the answers, that can do anything, of which obviously I can't. What I hope my son does is looks at me as someone that he doesn't have to emulate as far as profession. Football is what I do, but it's not what I am. My grandfather looks at me, I think, as a guy, and he's 90 years old, and I think he looks at me with a certain amount of amusement. I think he feels obviously proud, but I think he's also amazed that this type of thing can happen, in his lifetime. I look at myself as a guy that if you want a job done, you ask me. I think in a nutshell, I don't care what it is. That's the way I was raised. I accept the responsibility for whatever it is I want to do or I'm asked to do, and I try to get the job done. And it doesn't mean success, because success is relative. Success has a lot of different variables. But if you want a job done, you ask me to do it, then I'm going to give it 100%. And that's across the board.
Dennis, can you give us your definition of success? And also, do you consider yourself successful?
Well, I think I'm successful because I'm doing the best I can at the profession I've chosen to do. I don't define it as financial at all. I think what I learned that education would do to me, and I had some very good teachers, and the whole idea with education to me was to give you an opportunity to do what you want to do, to not guarantee that you can do what you want to do, but to give you an opportunity. I feel fortunate because I'm coaching. That's what I enjoy doing. I love the game of football, so I feel very fortunate to be in a profession that I enjoy doing. And then I've had relative success in doing it. To deal with the real world, I was taught when I was young to not see limitations. That is what Martin Luther King said back in 1958 or 59 when I first saw the speech. When I first saw it, that was what he said when he came to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. It's that we have the right not only to be given equal treatment. Treatment means how you deal with me. And so often we focus with, how are you treating me, how are you treating me, how are you treating me? Well, wait a minute. How are we treating ourselves?
What's been the most rewarding aspect of the success you've achieved so far?
I am fortunate, and that's why I've never wanted to be the guy that says, look at me, look what I'm doing, because if you do that, then you got to look and say, this guy's been fortunate, this guy's been lucky. Yep. This guy came along in 1993, yeah. If he'd come along in 1973, he wouldn't be where he's at. You're right about that, too. So now that it is 1993, do I have a right now to look forward? One thing I like about the horizon is if I stand on a building 10 stories high, I can see the horizon. I can go 8 blocks further, go to another 10-story building, I can still see the horizon. It's not the same one, because the horizon is always moving and you're always moving towards it. There are no limitations to what man can accomplish. That's what I've always believed.